This episode of Nuff Said is brought to you by Tweaked Audio. To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code SOUTHGATE to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
What is the sound of one hand clapping? What is the sound of one fist punching? What is the sound of the IronCast? Hey everyone, I am your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my svelte, wealthy friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey Mozz, welcome back to the penultimate episode of the IronCast. Yay! And that, of course, is my dearest son, Tristan Esser, who is a great background Foley artist. Anyway, tonight's episode, Season 2, Episode 9, War Without End. Facing life-changing decisions, Danny and Colleen debate their next move. Meanwhile, Davos' contempt for mercy grows stronger. Tonight's episode was directed by Sanford Bookstaver. Roy Thomas and Gil Kane created this good old guy named Iron Fist. And, of course, Scott Buck created the show. Daniel Shattuck gets our written by this week. Matthew White and Tatiana Suarez-Pico, who I think you said is a actual MMA fighter?
Yeah, she's a really, really good female MMA fighter. She's pretty dangerous. It's pretty scary.
Well, good for her, man. Well, you know, I think that's why we get such good fight scenes in this. And, of course, hardest working woman in show business this week, our story editor.
I don't know if that writer is the same Tatiana Suarez that fights for the UFC, but there's also a girl named Tatiana Suarez who's a badass fighter in the UFC is what I meant.
Let's see. Actor, playwright, and screenwriter. She received messages. Yeah, no mention of her being an MMA fighter.
All right. I gotta imagine it's got to be two different professions you got to focus equally as well on.
Yeah, who knows? It could be her cousin. This is Tatiana Suarez-Pico. So we don't know which is her maiden. So she could have been Tatiana Pico and then married a guy named Suarez. You never know with this kind of stuff. Anyway, it's neat that that's where she's at. There's Daisy. Yes. Anyway, getting back to our story. So how does this story open up? We don't have the bowl yet because BB's has the bowl.
Right.
And he's at the community center. And I'm trying to think, where does this episode start? I just watched it today, and I can't remember where it starts. It's all blending together. Do you remember?
Yeah. Recall either.
What our first scene? Anyway, well, you know what? Let's just get to the brass tacks of it.
Right.
We have in this the conversation between Colleen and Danny about the Iron Fist and whom should take on the mantle. At the same time, we have the amassing of forces against Davos at the community center. We also have Misty Knight show up with the information that she has a task force. And again, this is one of these moments where we get this big drop of exposition without much like building up to it, I think.
Right.
You know, where it's like, yes, and now we have the task force. So again, one of these things where you get the feeling that maybe there was a heck of a lot more story that kind of had to be put to the side to make everything else happen.
Right.
But we do get our our nice scene with and some nice scenes with Misty. Honestly, Misty I think gets some really good moments in this. I think, Colleen gets fantastic moments in these last couple episodes.
Yeah.
Because it really is about her. And, it's an interesting question here. And maybe becomes even more a deeper aspect of this. Now, we had said from the very start of this, that, one of the things about Davos's taking of the Iron Fist is that he didn't earn it. He just steals it. And one aspect of this that I think that you can really look at in this is that no one prior to Colleen gets the choice to say, I choose to be the Iron Fist. Everyone else, the Iron Fist was, as we say, a path to a door.
Right, but in a sense, didn't they all choose the Iron Fist the moment they decide to enter into training?
Well, except as Davos says, they beat them in Kunlun. That basically, I guess what it comes down to is in Kunlun there is one job, and that is the Iron Fist, and only one person gets to get that job, and everyone else is basically a goat herder. It's like there is not a lot of upward mobility in Kunlun. It is a medieval style village ruled over by, I guess, a theocracy of monks that is maybe somewhat democratic. We don't really know.
Yeah.
But basically, you don't have a lot of options for what you're going to be when you grow up, because it's pretty much assumed, well, you're going to go become an Iron Fist. You're going to want to be the Iron Fist, right? Because not for nothing, I don't think it was just Dany and Davos that were fighting for the Iron Fist. In fact, it suggests that they had defeated every other person in their age group in Kunlun prior to getting to that point. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that basically they were just the last two guys standing. And, within that concept, and it comes into this idea that, there is, the idea is that, sorry, I lost my train of thought. Yeah, we all lose our train of thought from time to time. But, that basically when you don't have a choice, you can't really choose. And if you're in a spot, and it's like this, sure, you could have chosen not to be the Iron Fist. You said, no, I'll just be a goat herder. My dad's a goat herder, I'll be a goat herder. People need goats.
Yeah.
What, you gonna milk? Where are you gonna get your milk from if not from a goat? Huh?
Yeah.
Not like we got cows up in here in the Himalayas. And yes, that is true, Tristan. You can get milk from. Or you could get wheat milk. Yes, or you could make wheat milk. That is true. Okay, Tristan. Anyway, back to the story. So yeah, but I do think that most people go down in this city of kung fu warriors. That the choice is, I guess I'll learn kung fu.
Yeah.
In many ways, it's kind of like when you live in like that, that auto town or that steel town. It's not like you're like, so will I go work at the steel plant, or will I be a hobo? Steel plant, hobo. Steel plant, hobo. I guess I'll work at the steel plant. And if you live in the kung fu village, it's like, well, I guess gotta go learn kung fu. And not for nothing, in Kunlun, it's not like you even have the option to become a hobo, because you have to live in Kunlun.
Right. You couldn't be homeless.
Exactly. You can't just leave Kunlun and become a hobo. You have to stay there and study kung fu. That is literally all you do there. For those who don't know, in the comics, Kunlun, and I believe this is the case in this universe as well, although never explicitly said. And interesting that no one knew this about Kunlun, inside Kunlun, except for maybe the elders, is that Kunlun only exists in our universe like once every 7 years. So if you're So once every 7 years, and they make the statement, oh, the path to Kunlun is open. Because every other time of the year, when you don't see that bird flying over from that very first season, you know, you can't actually get out. And now, whether or not that's because the ice is frozen over, or it's just the fact that the universe is closed off, and Kunlun is a magical city that exists outside the universe,
Right.
You are trapped there. And so everyone is trapped there, and the only person who has gotten the option to be an Iron Fist is Colleen. And in this way, I think that this becomes Colleen's arc. Because she's the one who now has to choose, will she take the Iron Fist? And I think in her conversation with Misty, there's a great point in this, which is that, look, if you don't want it, that's fine. You know, Danny will take it back, and quite frankly, I think he's a fine Iron Fist. He'll be good at it. But you will take the Iron Fist and will do good with it. And that idea of doing good with it is something that I think is not something either Danny or Davos ever thought about. You know, and I think that is the thing. It's like, you know, Danny wants to do good with it, and Davos wants to do good with it in the sense that, well, I have power and I should do good, rather than I will do good without the power.
Right.
And that's the real thing. That's the difference, is that Colleen is already volunteering at the community center. Colleen, long before she gets the Iron Fist, is trying to talk into Parlay to end the fighting. And as we do get in this, we do get a unity of the triads in this.
Right.
Against the threat of Davos, but still, as she says to him, but you've made it this far. You don't have to let this end when we solve the problem. You guys can find a way to make peace.
But it's almost like, again, it's that thing with she thinks she would be good with it. Everybody thinks she'd be good with it, but when a person encounters a, you know, life-changing situation, it changes you. That's why they call it a life-changing situation. So you don't know the you that you're going to be. And I think everyone can be corruptible by the Iron Fist. And it's almost like Davos wants nothing to do with actually doing good. He just wants to be seen as having done the righteous thing or the good thing. He doesn't care whether he that is him or not. And Danny, on the other hand, is so afraid of the responsibility that comes with it that he doesn't really do much with it, or he doesn't know how to handle it. But Colleen is actually trying to do good, but I don't know if that is a strong enough motivator to fight the power that it can exert over you.
Well, I think maybe if there's an argument to be made, it's the argument that we get from Captain America, you know, where, you know, the whole thing that Erskine says to Stephen that is like, look, you give strength to a strong man, and he doesn't know what to do with it. But, you know, a person like Steve, who has fought all his life and knows what it's like to be weak, will be a better person to handle that power. Now, I'm not going to say that Colleen knows what it's like to be weak, but she certainly has, in many ways, been through the ringer a bit more than Danny. And, you know, she certainly isn't as naive as Danny, and certainly has walked a few more miles in her own shoes than Danny has.
Right.
And, you know, and I think, like I said, what it comes down to is she, you know, and I guess, you know, here's what I'll tell you. Here's the real thing that you never think about with Colleen. Davos and Danny never had a choice to do good or evil. They had a world set in front of them that was determined from when they were young. And for Danny, you know, at one point it was, you will grow up and you will be the head of Rand Enterprises. Or he finds himself in Kunlun and it's, well, you will be the Iron Fist, you know. there was never a place where the man got the opportunity to say, here is my choice. Whereas Colleen, again, she winds up in the hand and she winds up dealing with all this stuff, but at the same time also is only in the hand because she feels there's good to be done by it.
Right.
You know, and I think this is sort of where Davos goes off the rails. Is Davos is basically sitting in the same spot as what was his name? Akito?
Bukado.
Bukado. Yeah, Bukido. That guy.
Bakudo.
Bakudo. You know, which is that I can do good with this power.
Right.
But this power.
But at the same time, I think back to Colleen in the cage when she had so much anger and frustration and she didn't know what to do with it and it needed to get out. And there's like a power in her or a violence in her that she constantly keeps tamped down. And I think she makes an effort to keep it tamped down. Mm-hmm. Well, that will get to escape and be off the leash, so to speak.
Yes, although there's maybe, here's what I'll say, having seen the last episode, there is something about all of this that sort of makes you go, oh!
Oh, interesting.
That's what it was all about, where there is this sort of implication that this was the destiny. That maybe something was her birthright. By chance she was denied her birthright.
Right.
I mean, it's not as explicit as that, and I don't want to go too much into it because obviously it already spoiled a lot of it. But
so maybe Danny's destiny, Danny's purpose was simply to be, like a placeholder.
Well, what's interesting is
or FedEx. He was supposed to bring it for her.
Well, what I'll say is it's even more complex than that, where maybe it is sort of again not one thing, and I think maybe that is the deeper question you can take from this is maybe the Iron Fist isn't just one thing, and maybe it's not just how you get it or how you handle it, but that the Iron Fist will be what you need it to be and what you want it to be. That it is just to get back to the old idea of bioorganic energy. It's just energy.
Right, and maybe if you personify, the idea itself, maybe it has some sort of effort it can exert over where it chooses to go. So maybe it's not even up to Danny to choose him. It's the Fist that chose her, and he's simply just the bumbling messenger.
I mean, it's entirely possible. It's interesting how this final the end of this. Like I said, this is the penultimate episode, and it's interesting how it all plays out. And we actually get pretty much a good aspect of this in this episode because we do get. Well, what we get, we get a couple of things. We get our final showdown with our we get our battle at the community center. Which anytime you say battle at the community center, it's a dance off. It's not a dance off. Although on some level it kind of is a dance off because, okay, not for nothing. There's a couple of things that just always bug me about these scenes. Okay, the first scene is when the hatchet guy confronts Davos. And the guy does a good job at fighting. But all I can think is, okay, first off, you have two hatchets.
Right.
Why are you trying to fight him with the hatchet as a melee weapon when you can also use it as a projectile?
Right.
Not for nothing, I'm wondering why you don't just, as soon as the guy walks in, go, throw one, and then when he blocks it, throw the other.
Right.
And hit him like that.
But then you don't have any more axes.
Well, yeah, and that's the other thing is why do you only have two axes?
Right.
And maybe he wasn't as good with throwing axes, so maybe it's like he doesn't realize that the axes actually are really good throwing weapons. But I guess maybe there's that other question of, okay, so axes maybe aren't the best projectile weapon, but you can shoot the guy.
Right. Right.
It's like, yes, he has the Iron Fist, but he also doesn't move the Iron Fist faster than a speeding bullet. Now, we
Right.
have seen, like, Danny knock a bullet out of the air, but we've
Right.
never seen someone actually come at Danny with suppression fire and Wonder Woman those bullets.
Mm.
Which is like, bing, 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 bing. He's like, once or twice you can knock a bullet out of the air. But it's like, if you actually just open fire on Davos, it ends. And that's sort of like that other thing when we get to the later scene when it's like everyone's in the community center and you've got, and I forget the woman's name. It's not Madame Gao, but Madame Gao 2.0. And she's got her guards there, and Danny confronts Davos, and it's like, why doesn't someone just shoot Davos while he's talking?
Right.
It's like, they're just talking. Well, I'm just going to shoot him. Okay, well, that solved that problem. Okay. Are they just, I mean, if there's anything I'll say for it, they do make a point earlier in that episode that the guys they have are like the second string ads. I only got like 5s and 6s. We don't got our 3s and 4s. And I don't remember the exact number, but he was basically saying that these were like, the raw recruits.
Right.
So maybe they're not that good of a shot. I don't know. But it's certainly a question in there whether or not someone could have ended this fight a lot quicker with just a bullet to the head.
Right.
Rather
Right.
than a boot to the head, a bullet to the head would have been just as good. Always good in the first shot. Yeah, so that was, but it was, it's very emotional, the battle, because of course first we have Colleen going to fight, well, first off we have BB try to reason with his old homies, and
Yeah.
that goes about as well as it went for Mr. Yip or Rhino. That basically, I mean, Crank's just a sociopath. I'm sorry. I can't wait to see what happens to Crank, because that guy is going to go way down the path of the darkness. And,
Yeah.
he's got some kung fu lessons, so he's probably going to do okay in prison. Not for nothing, he does have a murder charge on him because he did kill Rhino, and he did kill BB. And all those other little gangsters are going to go totally rat on both Davos and Crank. And say, no, Crank did it. Crank's got it slit his throat. And Crank stabbed BB. And then they'll say, oh no, but Davos was the guy who was like turning people to freaking confetti with the Iron Fist.
Right.
Because the little gangsters haven't killed nobody up until Crank. Crank's the only guy who started killing people.
Yeah.
And and not for nothing, this whole quality goes to what I think is the crux of that path towards villainy, which is the idea that we all say, oh, we should just kill the criminal, the bad guy. We all know there's always more than enough bad guys, and we all want to, string them up, shoot them, kill them, whatever. We all want to be the Punisher. But of course, once you walk down that path, you often get to this point where, you start saying other people are not deserving of life either, because you've already crossed the line to kill.
Right.
If there's nothing else, there's one thing you can say about that classic superheroic pledge that I will not kill. Once you start killing, and more to the point, I think this is the thing. It's not even that if you kill, it's whether or not you go in with the intention to kill. Davos went in with the intention to kill. And then once you go in with the intention to kill, what keeps you from killing someone else, Once you say, it's one thing to kill a person in battle. It's a whole other thing to say, we're going to go there and kill him.
Right, because it does go back to the idea of have you tried killing them yet? It solves a problem so easily, I mean, when it goes ideally, that it just seems like the best shortcut that you could never not think of taking.
Yeah. And yeah, speaking of have we tried killing them yet, I am going to be reviving the Gamma Cast soon with the movie. So, Just going to throw that out there. I know you and me have a very big schedule ahead of us with both The Punisher and Daredevil and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. coming in April, I think. But I'd like to get some Gamma Cats in there again, too. There's only
Yeah, that'd be
three
fun.
movies at most, although I'd like to fill in some other gaps with those two now that Netflix is going away.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll get to all that a little bit later.
Yeah, the fight scene with the one-eyed guy was pretty awesome too.
Oh yeah, with Misty.
With Misty and wasn't Walker there too?
Well, no. What happened? So we get One Eye and One Eye versus One Arm, and
Right.
they're fighting, and then
That was
Ward
a
comes in.
really, really cool looking fight scene, though. Maybe one of the fanciest and most interesting fight sequences they've done in this show.
Yeah, well, it's always interesting. I don't know if it's obviously it's all choreography, but it's an interesting aspect of things where all the fancy fighting, that there's not too much difference in an actual brawl between the fancy fighting and the street fighting.
Right.
That when you get into it, if you're a fighter, you're a fighter. And it doesn't matter if you've studied this fighting technique from a master sensei or you just got into a lot of scrapes and scraps and you figured out how you hit a person in the right way at the right time.
Right.
And I think, as we see, Misty, she's a brawler, but you never think that, oh, there's no way that Misty's going to be the person to fight this, especially with her literal, well, polycarbide fist. But
Yeah, I mean, like, it should have caved his head in.
well, yeah, I think she's trying not to cave people's heads in.
That's true.
She's not trying to be Davos and just pulping people. Although, again,
if she were Davos, she would have just taken out a knee, and that would have been the end of that whole exchange.
Well, yeah. Although, what I will say is, that was Davos's big mistake, because he went for the femur, not the knee.
Right, he didn't have the conviction in that moment to take the kill shot like he was supposed to.
Well, no, he wanted to cripple him. He just didn't think he'd be able to get back from a pulverized femur.
Well, yeah, no, I mean, maybe he should have actually taken him out if he wanted his problems gone.
Yeah, but again,
Mother was right.
Yeah, well, but maybe that is the point, that we can have a redemptive arc for Davos now that he is not cursed with the Iron Fist, or at least by the end of this, maybe he is not. Although it's a question, because there's
it's a really weird situation. Like, first he had no fist, then all of a sudden he has two fists, and then she has one and he has two still. What is happening?
Well, because maybe it's not. So there was this. So, and it's interesting. So in Marvel Comics, there's something called the Star Brand, which is essentially this thing that gives you infinite power. Like infinite, like Superman power, basically.
Uh-huh.
And Superman power is infinite. And you're granted this by what's called the White Event, which is what brings superpowers into a universe. This was done in Jim Shooter's New Universe. Now, here's the thing.
Huh.
There is, when they were doing the Secret Wars and all the universes got mushed up together and they brought back all the Secret Wars characters and they brought back the Star Brand as a big idea in Marvel Comics, they actually had this thing where, in order to defeat the Squadron Supreme, the person who has the Star Brand starts giving other people the Star Brand.
Interesting.
And what they say is they get a portion of the Star Brand.
So wait, is
Star
this
Brand
the thing?
is infinite, so what's a portion of infinity?
Oh, interesting.
It's infinity, so that everyone gets infinite powers.
So wait, is this thing where I heard that in times of dire need, the universe bestows one person with this power, and it has unlimited power, but only to the end that it has only enough power that you would need to defeat whatever enemy currently you face, right?
No, that's the Enigma Force.
Okay.
That's another Deus Ex Machina superpower in the Marvel Universe. That is what gives you Captain Universe. Captain Universe has the Enigma Force, which was done in the recent Spider-Geddon, where they actually track down the Enigma Force and talk to the Enigma Force and yell at the
Oh.
Enigma Force for not saving the universe. So it's
Oh wow.
it's interesting.
Sounds like the 70s.
Yeah, oh, it was, yeah. But Captain Universe is a cool character. And it's interesting because, of course, essentially, there was one time where Spider-Man got to be Captain Universe, and then there
Mm.
was this whole story about, like, what if Spider-Man had kept the powers instead of letting them go at the end, and he just became Captain Universe, the Spider Captain Universe, and he, like, sort of was able to have ultimate power and ultimate responsibility, caring for the universe, kind of thing.
Mm.
It's interesting. But yeah, but that's the idea. So the idea here is maybe the Iron Fist isn't just one thing. That
Mm.
Davos gets it, and
Oh.
everyone who has had the Iron Fist has a connection to it. And just because now Danny has it drained, but is it gone forever? Well, that's what we're going to sort of determine in the next episode.
Huh.
But we see Colleen get it, and we see that basically that when you get it, it's kind of a little overwhelming, kind of a rush, and that's where this episode ends. Now, there was something I did want to talk about that happens before this, which is Danny really being subtle in drawing Davos in there.
Right.
All limping. He's like, oh yeah. He says, well, I didn't want to cripple you, brother, but and all this kind of stuff.
And like he only did that because he had a certain image of Danny in his mind that Danny could never have the capacity in him to be deceptive.
Exactly.
And it worked to his advantage in that regard. Everything that he'd built or that image that was sort of inconvenient for him to have as being the bumbling fool or the way too naive guy came to be a power for him in this situation.
Well, exactly. I mean, you know what it is? It is your classic supervillain cockiness.
Yeah.
And again, Davos this is so much the birth of a supervillain. He is a guy who was always evil but never had the power. Then as soon as he has the power, all of his evil shows, but also the fact that he has this power makes him assume he has way more power than he ever really does. It's
Right.
like the thing that all supervillains have in common is they all think they can defeat the hero. And the hero never thinks they can defeat the villain. The hero just says, well, I will do my best, and I will fight on, and I won't give up, and will defeat you. And it doesn't matter if the villain is stronger or smarter or whatever. The villain always loses because the hero never gives up. Yes, and the hero has protagonist armor.
Right. Also, and like the hero is usually fighting for his life. The villain is never fighting for his life. So the person that's fighting to survive has a lot more, anger and a lot more elemental survival force or whatever you want to call it in them. Whereas the villain can say, oh, the plan didn't work. The plan is more important than whatever. So I must preserve myself in order to preserve the plan.
Yeah.
That goes away. You have no choice. And you've already committed to giving your life because it's being taken anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's your basic defensive war posture. It's like if they always say it's always better to fight a defensive war because you get to decide when and where you fight. Or as they say, he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day.
Right.
And but I think what we see with Davos is that for nothing, it's very reasonable that Danny should be a little bit crippled here. And I do like the fact that Danny is using that to draw him in, and then just sort of gets in the first shot, boot to the head, and that gets them to the point. And then they get in their fight, and Danny this time gives him the full dose of ketamine, some special K, drops drops Davos right down that K-hole. Which I just thought was just a weird aspect of the whole thing. Just that, well, we got this. We got some, I don't know, some stomped on drugs in the back room. Maybe we could just shoot them up with that.
Well, no, I got to imagine they must have planned it out and had it because, that's what Walker used on him. So it's like, hey, it worked on me.
No, because they were saying they have now that we got the bowl, we can fight Davos. Damn.
Uh-huh.
And Colleen says, well, we don't have anything to knock him out with.
Oh, right. He's like, what do you want? Percocets, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
People leave. Oh, right.
I mean, when you talk about your Deus Ex Machina, again, one of these things where I think they had more episodes and then they didn't.
Right. Right.
We got everything. But again, like I said, these are literally drugs they confiscated off of homeless people. Which means these are probably well stomped on. These are probably not what unless they're doing safety dance testing on this stuff, they are sitting there, saying, I don't know, they got blue powder, white powder, green powder. Honestly, they're lucky that whatever they gave them didn't just like totally like, oh man, that was cocaine. I'm just like so ready to fight you now. They're lucky they found a sedative. That's all I can say. Because not for nothing, a lot of it could have very easily been a tweaker drug, and
right
would have been not as good.
And double-fisted Iron Fist on methamphetamines. Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would not have ended well. And
no.
That's the other thing when I'm thinking about this is when they're tattooing. Well, they tattoo with the blood, but somehow, I don't know, what does she drink? She has to drink something out of the bowl first. I don't know. I was thinking, man, I wonder if those drugs are going to be affecting anything here, But but Danny, beats him and drugs him, and defeats him. Back when Misty goes and finds Joy, and this was what I was going to get to was that Misty and One Eye have the big fight, and then Ward comes in and just shoots him.
Yes.
Which I love because again, it's just like, why did no one think of that with Davos?
Right.
And I love the fact that he goes, I thought it was Davos.
Yeah.
Which would have made, and it would, like, honestly, to me, that's, like I said, that's how that whole thing should have ended, as Davos is like, I will fight you, brother, and then all of a sudden you just hear, crack, and he just, like, falls, because, of course, his back is to all the gangsters in that scene, and just, well, here's a hatchet. Well, the Triads would have had a gun.
Yeah.
Triads aren't all caught up on pretense. So yeah, but anyway, that's not what happened, and they do get to drug him. And they do get the Crane sisters in. Colleen does decide to accept the Iron Fist. Although, again, one of these things where it's like everything happens really fast because it's like this thing where Mitch says, "Look, I know it's not going to get you through it, but it took me a long time to realize you can't save everyone. It's not your fault. You can't save everyone." And like 5 minutes later, she's like, I've realized it's not my fault and I can't save everyone. Give me the Iron Fist. and then it's just, the other weird thing is that apparently that tattoo is like, there's not a specific tattoo you're supposed to get, which was also a little weird to me. Because it's like, because when they first said it was all very specific what Davos said they needed to do. And like, I kind of wonder if she had actually asked for, flaming dice. Like, still, no, it's a tattoo. It's flaming dice. Go ahead, And that would have been awesome, just, flaming dice. But yeah, so
I gotta imagine maybe they took direction from that picture of the tapestry or whatever that they had.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess maybe it has to be somewhat dragon related because he does say a cross between this symbol of my family and the dragon on his chest. So, Although, as I point out, notably, Davos did not have the winged dragon. He had a serpentine dragon.
Right.
Again, serpents being a symbol of Satan and that temptation towards power. But she does get her iron fist at the end.
But it's not yellow; it's white.
It's white, which I find to be this fascinating aspect. There's a lot of ways you can look at it, and one thing I like to think about with this is if you think about flame.
Right. White hot, red hot, that kind of thing.
Well, red is actually the coldest.
Right.
Of flames, but it's also that he has the two fists. But also red is a color of anger, of vengeance, of all these things. Now, yellow, of course, is in the middle, and maybe represents not boring, but maybe being like in
balanced.
Between. Yeah, balance. And then white is the white hot, but white can also be purity. And the idea of the light burning through all the impurities of either the anger or this quest for balance, and just saying, no, I will be righteous and pure and direct.
Or that, white light contains all the other light in it, all the other refractions.
That is true too. So I mean, there's a lot of things going on there. She gets her white light. We don't get much more of that fight yet because that's for the next episode. But it is neat. It is frustrating that Davos comes too, because obviously they need a little more special K. And not for nothing, again, it's one of these weird things where it's like, well, clearly her tattoo took a lot less time, but still he got up earlier, which makes me wonder if they intended to do a smaller tattoo just because, look, we don't got a lot of time here. Honestly, should have gone with the flaming dice. If we're going to say one thing about this scene, it's like, yeah, flaming dice was the right choice. Dragons have fire. They do. And it's all rather random, just like. Any final thoughts on tonight's episode, Mozz?
Yeah, what do you think is going on with Walker and Mary and their supposed other personality that they're not aware of?
Oh, well, we don't get that till the next episode, I don't think.
But I thought that was really, really cool. It's like, that's not right. And all of a sudden when she's watching that video, and I was like, oh, wait a second, what's going on? And then she's I thought the conversation with the psychiatrist was really fun too.
Well, yes, we get a lot with Mary and Walker in this. But one of the things I thought was most interesting, and it's a real subtle thing to pick up, but we get when Walker gets the secret papers about her escape from Ward, basically he had to write a thing to the Hydra Super PAC to get those. And as she's reading them, she hears the voices of the soldiers begging for mercy. And it shows that she's aware of who did it in a way.
Like she has some memory of it, like a fragmented memory that maybe she wasn't present for in her present form, but there is remnants that are accessible to this version of her.
Yeah, well, it's like, Bruce Banner said in The Incredible Hulk, it's like, he has memories of what the Hulk does, but it's like seeing the world through a that she knows something happened, and she had assumed it was, of course, Mary who got them out, but she knew they were begging for mercy. So
do we get a resolution to this in the next episode, or is it just another loose end?
It's an Easter egg meant for them.
Oh, okay.
Well, that. Okay, little thing here. So they ended all of these things except for the Punisher and Jessica Jones in 2018. By the rule, now according to the rule with Netflix, these characters can't appear in the MCU for 2 years. But what that means is 2019 is already booked with MCU's films. 2020, they probably have already started production on. Meaning that if they start production on Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and Daredevil in 2018 or 2019, we'll have those films by 2021. So I think that maybe there was an intention where they told essentially there was this question that a lot of people had. It's like, man, why are they rushing all these films? Why did because it went Iron Fist, because it went Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Daredevil, really really fast at the end of the year. And it was like, why did that happen so fast? And the reason was, I think Marvel told them, let's not fight about this. Get these out there. We'll give you your 2 years, and then we're putting these guys to something else. And they probably sweetened the deal by telling them, look, if you don't do this, you will never have another Disney Marvel product on Netflix again.
Mm.
But if you do it our way, we're gonna call it a day, but we'll still work out with you in the future. So I think, and not for nothing, because I think Netflix has certain rights with these guys. After those 2 years, Netflix will still do it. So I think Netflix, it behooved them to deal. And so this is my theory. It's not based on anything other than that, but that's my theory.
And even if they don't, I mean, because even if they recast some of these characters for future projects, they can always bring these versions of the characters back because it is a multiverse.
Well, yeah, exactly, and they can bring them back. I mean, I'm really fascinated to see where the story goes next. It made some interesting choices in the final episode, but we'll discuss all that next
Indeed.
week. Indeed. Mozz, if people would like to give their crazy fan theories and what they think about the business of comic book movies, how can people find you?
Well, they can email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com or find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
And of course, you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email with Mozz and Pods Winston at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. Of course, follow me on the Twitters. Live tweet Orville and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Cloak and Dagger and anything else I darn well please. At Charlie Esser, that's CHARLIE ESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
Ding!
For quality, although the path to Kunlun is not a path to a door, but one that leads forever into the horizon, tomorrow the horizon comes. We will once again speak about the final journey of the Iron